This is Miss Maggie.
And I am Miss Mary during our summer edition of At Home with APS. During the school year, I'm Mrs. Chappell, where I am a school librarian at S.Y. Jackson Elementary School. Speaking of school librarians, I have a message today from one of our school librarians to her students at Eugene Field. So, Eugene Field, Bullpups, listen up. A message to you from Mrs. O'Brien. She says, I hope that you are all keeping your brains busy this summer and learning new things. And then she says, Bullpups, read. So, hello to you from Mrs. O'Brien.
Fantastic. Today we're going to have another wonderful set of episodes focusing on English language arts and mathematics for the first 2 hours in grades kinder, first and second grade, and the second 2 hours for third, fourth, and fifth graders. Please remember to tune in with us every single morning from 8 to 12. And in case you miss any of our episodes, all of our episodes will be on our APS YouTube channel along with closed captioning services. Let's get started.
Miss Maggie, we've been talking about what makes a good pet. And I realized we've never really shared information about our own pets.
You're right.
So we have a special treat for you today. We didn't bring our pets in, I'll just tell you that right now, but we did bring pictures in of our pets, and we would love to introduce them to you. So let's get started.
Awesome.
Now, I will tell you that there's some pictures that I didn't include because I couldn't get big pictures. For example, I do have a couple of goldfish. They're out in a fountain in our yard.
How wonderful.
We don't really play with them much because they don't respond to our playing. They hide under a rock. We also have some turtles, but this is our brand new family member. And I'm so excited to introduce you to her. Now, I've got to give you a little bit of background here. Back in November, in our library at S.Y. Jackson Elementary School, I was getting ready for our book fair. And we were reading a book that was going to be in the book fair, and it has turned into one of my favorite books. It's called Can I Be Your Dog? And it's about a dog who writes letters to different people in the neighborhood trying to find a forever home. It is so sweet. Now, I will also tell you something else. In our family, we have not had dogs for a really long time because we just weren't in a position where we could do that. We've been traveling a lot, and my husband and I both work a lot, and our boys are in college, and I felt like it wasn't a good time for us to have a dog because we're gone too much to be able to take care of our dog and play with it. But when stay-at-home started back in March, I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to be home for the next couple of weeks, because remember, this was when school was only closed for about 2 weeks, if I'm going to be home for the next couple of weeks, I could foster a dog. And what foster means is when you take care of it for a little while. And so I contacted Animal Humane New Mexico, and I said, would it be possible for me to foster a dog just for the next couple of weeks? And they said, absolutely, we have the perfect dog for you. And so we went in and got her, and her name was Tori.
How wonderful.
So we brought her home. I'm guessing that you can imagine what happened.
You fell in love with her.
I did. And so did my husband. And when our boys came home from college, because their schools were closed, they fell in love with her too. So when the stay-at-home orders were extended, Tori stayed with us, and we changed her name, because you can do that when you adopt a new pet, and now her name is Molly. And so we have been so excited to welcome Molly to our family.
How wonderful. She looks like a beautiful dog.
Oh, she is, and she has this really cute, I'll just have to, I don't know if you can see this on your TV, but she has this pout lip.
Oh.
And, oh, she's just the cutest thing. But I would love to hear about your pet since I've been talking all this time.
Well, in our family, we have 3 wonderful pets. The first pet that we have a cat. His name is Mumble. Mumble is about 6 years old, and he is what we call a tuxedo cat. He's black and white. He is the ultimate cuddle bug. He loves to cuddle, he loves to be pet, and if you do not pet him when he asks to be pet, he will make sure that he sits right on top of your hands and arms until you pet him. He is a rescue as well. My husband and I, we rescued Mumble before we got married, and we rescued him from a place called Lucky Paws here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he had been there for a couple of months just waiting for his forever home. I will say that he was definitely loved by the staff there. But Mumble's our darling little cat, and he definitely loves people.
Do you have other pets?
I do. We also have 2 dogs. This is our first dog. She's a husky, and her name is Miska. Miska is 2 years old. She is black and white and has bright blue eyes, and she is the friendliest dog you will ever meet.
Those eyes are amazing.
Very, very beautiful. She loves people, and she loves to run. So we have to go walking and running every morning for her to get good exercise, because that's part of what it means to take care of a pet. You have to make sure that your dogs are well exercised. And Miska loves running on the trails. It's her favorite thing to do. And she reminds me in the morning if we haven't gone out running yet.
Now, if you don't give her that run, how does she respond?
She's very excited all day long. She will run back and forth in our small little yard that we have so she can try and get her energy out that way. So it's very important to take her out so she has a chance to release that energy.
Oh, that's good to know.
So that's our puppy. And this is Dante. Dante is our pug. Dante is going to be 10 years old this month. He has been with my husband for 10 years. He was adopted when he was about 2 months old and has been with my husband ever since. He is a very fun-loving pug who loves chest scratches, and that's very important. He must get a chest scratch from you if you ever come to visit him. He loves people, does not like thunder, and definitely loves little dog bone treats.
Oh, now I'm noticing, I think when I touch the screen, Dante doesn't really have a blue streak.
No, he doesn't. We can erase that.
Now, I have never had a pug, and he's so cute, but he reminds me of a book that my students love. In fact,
Really?
I'm betting that our students at home know this book and love it also, and I'm sure you know it. It's called Pig the Pug.
I love that book. That's one of my favorite books.
So if I was interested in adopting a new friend for Molly, and I wanted to know whether or not a pug would be a great pet for our family, would this be a good book to get information about pugs?
And that's interesting that you say that, because Pig the Pug is a fiction book. It tells a story, which is great to be entertained by a story. But Pig the Pug doesn't really tell what my real dog, Dante the Pug, is actually like.
Oh, so you said fiction. If I wanted more information about pugs, I might be better to go to a nonfiction book because those give us information.
I think so. That's a good idea. You definitely want to use a nonfiction book to get information.
So I actually have a nonfiction book about pugs.
How
And-
wonderful.
Surprise, surprise, it's called Pugs. Often the titles of nonfiction books tell us what they're about. And so I would be able to use this book to find out more about pugs.
Absolutely.
Now, today we're going to focus on this book, and we're going to focus on how to get information from nonfiction books. Now, one thing that helps us when we're reading for information is we think about what is it that I'm trying to learn? So that's called setting a purpose. And when we set a purpose, it's almost like we're getting our brain ready to look for certain information. Kind of like if that information was to come up in the book, it would almost pop up a little flag and say, here I am, here's that information that you were looking for. So if we set a purpose for our reading and think about what we want to know, we'll be ready for that information to come into our brains.
Absolutely.
So efficient readers set a purpose for reading. What would you say an efficient reader is?
An efficient reader, I think, is someone who knows how to read a book in a way that helps them to understand it better and makes sense to them.
That makes sense to me too. So when an efficient reader sets a purpose, they know what they're looking for and they know how to find that information quickly.
Exactly.
Well, let's see. So our reader here is saying, what information do I want to know? And then he's answering his question by saying, I want to know if a pug would be a good pet for our family.
I think that's a great purpose to set, especially with the book that we're going to be reading.
Now, I think that he's also asked another, or answered, I think he's used an interesting set of words here, for our family, because we know that each family is different. For example, we know that your husky needs to run a lot.
Yes.
And I'm betting that you also like to run.
Yes, I do. I run almost every single day.
So that would make a good fit.
Yes, very much so.
She needs to run, you like to run, that makes a good fit. In our family, I don't like to run. I like to walk, and luckily, Molly also likes to walk, so that makes her a good fit for our family. Let's see what's next. So these are the types of things that our efficient reader might be looking for. Would a pug be a good pet for our family? Our reader might also be asking, well, what are pugs like? Would they be a good fit for our family? What do pugs need to be healthy? And can we give it what it needs? So your husky needs the exercise. You can give it that exercise. Your Dante pug needs tummy rubs or chest scratches, and you can give him that.
Yes.
And then what do pugs need to be happy? And a lot of times the happy and healthy for pets kind of go on hand in hand. And again, can we give it what it wants? Well, let's move on and start looking for information that would answer some of these questions. As we know, in all books, we have a cover, a front cover, and a back cover. We have a title, we have an author. Sometimes, especially in fiction books, we have an illustrator. Often, in nonfiction, we don't have an illustrator, we have a photographer. And very often, the photographer is the same person as the author, the person who wrote the words. In this case, the author was Bob Temple. This book was published by Abdo Publishing Company. They do a whole series of books about pets that we have in our library.
Fantastic.
Let's move on. Now, there are certain text features that we can use to help us to be efficient readers, to help us find the information that we're looking for quickly. One that I really find handy when I'm looking for information is a table of contents.
A table of contents? What's that?
Well, a table of contents tells us the names of the chapters of the book. A chapter is where we divide the book up into parts depending on what they're about. And each chapter has a title or a name, just like the book has a title. And I could quickly look at the table of contents to see where to find certain information.
Excellent.
So if I wanted to know where dogs come from, I would know I can go to page 4.
Oh, that's how we find that information.
but I'm actually not interested today in finding that. So I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to skip that part,
Okay.
and that's okay. But I do want to know more about pugs in general. So I think we'll start with page 6. So if you could turn to page 6, I'll do the same in my book. Of course, to find the pages, I'm going to look down and see page numbers. And now my book is showing what's on the screen. Now, to save a little bit of time today, I'm not going to read all of this information, but if I was trying to get information for myself from this nonfiction book, I would take the time to read this. There are a few things that stand out to me, though.
Okay.
Pugs are from the toy group of dogs. Does that mean that they're toys?
I don't think so. It doesn't sound right to me that dogs would be toys.
Because dogs are living things,
Yes.
and toys are not. So we wouldn't want to treat a dog like a toy.
No, absolutely.
So maybe that's something that we want to learn more about. What is a
think so.
toy group of dogs? Okay. It says that they are a lot of dog in a little body. I wonder what that could mean.
In thinking about my own experience and my background knowledge about my pug, he's got a lot of energy. And he's a small dog, but he's got a lot of energy. So I'm wondering if a lot of dog means that he has a lot of energy and personality.
Oh, well, you know what? That also kind of matches up with the personality of the dog in this made-up story, Pig the Pug. Let's see what's in the next part. Oh, what they're like. And we've been talking about what pugs are like. Let's read just a little bit of this. Oh, by the way, this is the title of that chapter.
Okay.
And I can tell that it's the title because it's in bold print. Bold print means that it's really, really dark, so it kind of pops out to us. This says, pugs are happy little dogs that love to be in the middle of the action. Does that sound like your Dante?
That sounds exactly like Dante.
They are very friendly and love to play with people. Pugs are smart and easy to train. Was Dante easy to train?
Yes, but sometimes he likes to be a little stubborn and pretend that he doesn't know.
Now this one's interesting. Sometimes they shy away from babies, but they get along great with children. All right, so it may be that if a family was interested in a pug and they had a young baby, that type of dog may not be the best fit. All right. Pugs also like to be with other dogs, especially other pugs. So do you think that Dante would do well if he was an only dog?
Absolutely not. Dante has always been with other dogs. Before we had Miska, we had another girl pug and we had a girl Cocker Spaniel.
Okay, so if a family was thinking about the type of pet that they might want, they might want to think about other pets that they already have.
Absolutely.
Well, let's keep going and find out what else we can learn. So back to our table of contents, you can see that there are other things that I can look at. I could look at the size. I could look at the feeding, things they need. Those would be things to help me decide if a pet was a good fit. So for example, thinking about size, would a giraffe be a good pet?
Probably not. They're very big.
Well, and really for more than one reason, right? Giraffes are wild animals, and we wouldn't want to try to make them be a pet. Zookeepers know how to take care of giraffes, but we wouldn't. But if I wanted to find out about a pug's size, I could go to this chapter on size, and I found out here they usually weigh between 14 and 18 pounds, and they stand either 10 or 11 inches high at the shoulder. Is that about how tall?
That's about his size,
Okay.
yes.
Well, let's keep going. Now, can you back up for 1 second? There was a
Absolutely.
word in there that I noticed was in bold print also, just like the title. That word is breeds.
Breeds. Do you know what the word breeds means?
Well, not necessarily, but there's something really cool about a lot of nonfiction books, And that is when we see a bold print word like that, that means this word is going to be in the glossary. Let's
glossary.
Go to the glossary is almost like a little bit of a dictionary in the back of the book that tells us the meaning of certain words. And the words are arranged in ABC order. So to find what a breed is, there it is right there. And it says a group of dogs that share the same appearance and characteristics.
I see. That helps me understand a little bit more about size. That if Dante is about that size, if we were to get another pug, then I could expect that the other pug would be about the same size and look about the same as Dante.
Interesting. Well, let's keep going and keep exploring our nonfiction book. This is another part of a nonfiction book that I find really handy to find information quickly. This is called an index.
Oh, an index. What does an index do?
Well, it's in the back of the book. Sometimes, though, it's the first thing that I turn to.
Oh, why is that?
Well, if it's a nonfiction book like a cookbook, it tells me where to find information based on what you're looking for by subject. So for example, in a cookbook, if I was looking for a recipe for how to make bread, I would turn to the index and go to the B's and look for bread. Now, this is not a cookbook. No. This is an information book about pugs. But if I wanted to find information about what they eat, I could maybe go to diet. I could look to see if there's something under food, or maybe even nutrition. All of those things would tell me more about what pugs need to eat. These are page numbers. So diet is on page 16. Well, food is also on page 16. Nutrition is also on page 16.
That makes me think that page 16 is all about their diet and their food.
I think you must be right. Let's see what else we have here. Things they need. Well, we know that pugs need, like all animals need, a safe place to sleep. That's called shelter. They need nutrition in terms of food and water. So those are the things that they need to stay healthy. They might need regular veterinarian appointments. They also have to be happy. So we need to make sure that when we choose pets, we're thinking about what makes them healthy, what makes them happy, and whether or not that pet would be a good fit for our family.
That sounds like it ties a lot in with your purpose for reading.
Right. I wonder if I have enough information now to start thinking about whether a pug would be a good fit. You know, it's not a decision that I can make lightly or by myself. When we adopt a new pet, they become a part of our family.
That's right, and they need to be well taken care of.
Well, let's move on. There's one more thing I wanted to discuss. Right now, as we're filming, a lot of our public libraries are just beginning to open up.
That's so exciting. I love the library.
Well, I do too. It's one of my favorite places to be. And our public librarians are so excited to get our students back. But we have to make sure that that happens safely. So probably for the next little while, we're not going to have a lot of people going into libraries, but there are other ways to get information. One way is to get information from the internet. This book happens to give us a couple of reliable websites on the internet where we could get information about dogs. What is reliable?
Well, reliable, if I remember this right, means that we can trust it.
Right, because we know that not everything on the internet is true or safe. And so whenever we go online to search for information, we always want to make sure that we talk to one of the adults in our home to help us with that, to make sure that we're going to websites that are safe and reliable.
And if at any point you ever have a question as to whether a website is safe or appropriate, please always get a grown-up in your home to come and see the website with you to make sure that it's safe and appropriate for your age.
Wow, well, I'm so excited about what we learned about pets today. What we're going to do next is we're going to get ready for some wordplay.
Fantastic. I love to play with words.
In our last wordplay episode, what we did is we took syllables and we took them apart.
Yes.
Remind me, what are syllables?
Syllables are word parts. They can be one word part or they can be many word parts. So, for example, like we did on Monday, the word rock has one word part. It's one syllable. In terms of another word, we had Charlotte. Charlotte had two word parts or two syllables. They can really be very lengthy.
Today, instead of taking words apart, we're going to have you put them together. Let me give an example on the screen. Now, you can see I've put out 2 blocks. If you have blocks at home, you could do this with me, or you could just use the floor in front of you or even a table and tap those with your hands as I tap our blocks. So our first word here has 2 parts.
Okay.
And I'm going to break up those parts.
Excellent.
Now, I want our students to be thinking about the parts because then we're going to put them together to discover what our word is.
Absolutely. And I'll help tap with my hands so that way they can tell what they could do with their own hands.
Perfect. All right, here's our first word. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Ham, stir. Okay?
Ham, stir.
Now, we're going to put those blocks together, and we're going to do it again, but this time we're going to squeeze those words together. Ham, stir.
Hamster.
And now let's say it all together.
Hamster.
What was the word?
Hamster. Hamster.
There's a hamster. Now, let's try that again with the next one.
Absolutely.
Again, we have 2 blocks. Are you ready? Let's try it. Turtle.
Turtle.
Let's squeeze our blocks together. Turtle.
Turtle.
And let's blend it. Ready?
Turtle.
And what was our word?
Turtle.
Did you get it?
Perfect. I think we got it.
All right, let's keep going then. Our next one is going to have 3 syllables.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Iguana.
Iguana.
And let's squeeze them together. Iguana.
Iguana.
What was the word?
Iguana.
Iguana. Wow. Now, the next one is a little bit of a challenge word.
Okay. I think they can do it.
Oh, I think so too. Now, it has a lot of parts.
Oh, wow. There are a lot of parts.
Shall we
I'm
try
ready,
it?
though.
Okay, let's try it. Veterinarian.
Okay. Veterinarian.
All right, let's try it. Let's blend it.
Okay.
Veterinarian.
Veterinarian.
What did you get?
Veterinarian.
There we go.
Excellent. I think you did a wonderful job with that at home.
Now, we only have 2 more,
Okay.
but I have to go forward for 1 second. Actually, we only have 1 more.
Okay. One more.
Now, this one is not related to pets.
Really? But our whole unit is about pets.
I know, but I thought that it might be a little bit of a challenge if our students didn't already be thinking, well, it's something to do with pets.
I think you can do this.
I think they can too.
Are you ready?
I am. Glossary.
Glossary.
Ready?
Glossary.
And the word is
Glossary.
glossary. That was from our nonfiction book.
I think that was a little bit of a trick, Miss Mary, because that still had to do with something we did today.
It did, you're right.
Then-
It is time for us to move on from wordplay into phonics.
Perfect.
One of my favorite things to teach.
Yes, this is a wonderful chance for us to practice our letters and our sounds, get us really ready for our reading skills.
So for today, we're going to start with our letter and sound keyword cards. Miss Maggie, can you remind the students what the letter and sound keyword cards are?
For the letter sound keywords, what we do is we use our letter name, for example, U. We use a keyword to help us remember the sound of the letter, up, and then we say the actual sound of the letter to help us remember what that sound is for the letter, which for this one is up. U, up, Try that. Perfect. Excellent work. Let's try another one. Repeat after me. I, itch, I. O, octopus, ah. E, ed, eh. A, apple, ah. I'm going to pause there for just a second because those first 5 letters that we just did are called vowels. Say the word vowels.
Vowels.
Vowels are the letters that we use in our consonant, vowel, consonant words, and they are present in every word in the English language. There's always at least one vowel. Let's move on to some consonants. F, fun. L, lamp, l. S, snake, s.
Whoops.
G, game, g. P, pan, p. R, rat, r. T, top, t. B, bat, b. D, dog, d. For those consonants, before we move on to these final ones, for those consonants, remember when we make those sounds that we don't add to the ends of those sounds for consonants. The sound is a vowel sound and it's an additional sound on top of the consonant. So for example, when we did p, pan, p, we do not say p, we say p, because it's just a push of air for that particular sound. That will help you when you're practicing your consonants at home. These next ones are going to be some of our digraphs, our 2 letters that make one sound together. S, H, ship, sh. Try that. Let's try the next one. T, H, thumb. Your turn. With those digraphs, those were 2 letters that make one sound. That's why when we had the SH, we did not say s, ha, we said shh, because they become one sound together. We're going to be back in just a minute to practice some of these letters with building words. We'll see you in just a second. Welcome back. We're back again to practice those letters and sounds with building words. Miss Mary, what words and sounds do you have for us today to build?
We have mostly short vowels and some consonants with a couple of digraphs. Now, today we're going to be focusing not on decoding.
Oh.
Instead, we're going to focus on encoding.
Miss Mary, what is encoding?
Well, if decoding is the skill that we use to read, encoding is the skill that we use to spell and to write our words. They're very closely related, but I think you'll see how it works as we go. We'll show you.
Perfect.
So we'll start with just some sounds to review the letters that the sounds make. Let me show you to begin with. Miss Maggie, say I.
I.
What says I?
I think, if I remember correctly, I is I. I, itch, it.
Exactly. I. Great. Now we can put the I back into the chart and move on to the next one.
Okay.
Say ah.
Ah.
What says ah?
O. O, octopus, ah.
Perfect. Say What says
U. U, up,
Excellent job. Say
Ah.
What says
A. A, apple,
And say
Eh.
What says
E, ed,
You know, as a teacher, I found that a lot of times and I sound a lot alike. And so we have to be careful to make sure whether we're actually trying to spell a word with or spell a word with I.
Exactly. We have to listen very, very carefully.
Let's move on to some consonants. Say What says
F, fun.
excellent? You know, I've also found that that's a tricky one because with we bite our lip. But it
Yes.
sounds an awful lot like where we bite our tongue.
That's another one we have to be careful of.
Say ooh.
Ooh.
What says ooh?
L, lamp, ooh.
Perfect. Say s. What says s?
S, snake,
Say g.
G.
What says g?
G, game, G.
Say p. What says p?
P, pan, P.
Say
Er.
What says
R, rat,
Now we'll move on to just a couple of digraphs.
Okay.
Say sh. What says sh?
SH, ship, sh.
And then the last one is one that I've already mentioned. Say what says
TH, thumb.
Awesome job. Boys and girls, you did a great job too. Let's move on to building some words or
Perfect.
spelling them.
Oh, this is going to be tricky.
I think they can handle it. We have got some amazing readers and writers.
Absolutely.
We'll start by saying the word.
Okay.
Say pet.
Pet.
Now, we're going to break that word up into sounds. So let's start again with pet.
Pet.
Now let's tap that into sounds.
Okay. Pet. P. E. T. Pet. Pet.
Now we're going to take each of those sounds and try to remember what letter says that sound.
Okay.
So you said p. What says p?
P.
E. What says e?
E. E.
T. What says t?
Pet. P. E. T. Pet, pet.
And so how did you spell pet?
P-E-T.
Perfect. Now let's spell those letters away. So
Okay.
as you touch each card, say its name, and then put it back into the chart where it belongs.
Absolutely. P-E-T. Now we know how to spell pet.
Perfect. Let's move on to the next one.
Excellent.
Say pug.
Pug. P-U-G. Pug. Pug. I hear p.
What says p?
P.
What says
U. G.
What says g?
G. Pug. P-U-G.
Awesome job. And I could even check that by looking, covering up our suffix s. There's pug.
I think we did it.
Let's spell it away.
P-U-G. Pug.
Let's move on to a different kind of pet.
Great.
Say rat.
Rat.
And let's break that up.
At. Rat. Rat. R. A. T. At. Rat. Rat. R-A-T spells rat.
Would we be able to change rat into cat?
I think so. If I remember all my sounds, at, and at, all I need to do is change out the R.
That's right, just that beginning sound.
So R goes away, and k would be C. C-A-T, cat.
You know, I noticed that they both have the same ending, which makes them rhyming words.
That's right, they are.
Let's move on. Let's spell away cat.
Okay. C-A-T, cat.
And let's put in a word for some of our older students.
Okay.
This one is going to have a blend.
Okay, I can do it. And you can too.
Say lost.
Lost. O-A-S-T. Lost. Lost. O-L-R-O-S-T. O-A-S-T. Lost. Lost. L-O-S-T spells lost.
Do you recognize those two words that we just used from a poem that we used yesterday?
I think so, yes. Lost cat.
That's exactly right. Now, let's spell those away, and then we'll do one more.
L-O-S-T.
And this one might be a little bit tricky,
Okay.
but I'm not going to give you any hints because I know that you're going to think back to what we already know about our letters and sounds that we've done today.
Yes.
Say rock.
Rock.
Let's tap it.
R-A-K. Rock. Rock.
And let's name the letters.
R. R. A. O. K. C-K. K. The digraph that says K.
And we know whenever that short vowel sound is in there with a one-syllable word, we're going to be using that CK instead of, what are our other letters that say K?
C and K by themselves.
But together, they make a great team to end the word.
That's right.
And speaking of ending, let's end this part of the lesson by spelling away these letters and moving on.
R-O-C-K. Rock.
Rock. Now, let's move our chart out of the way because for this next part, we'll be needing to look at the Promethean board as we do some reading with fluency. Miss Maggie will explain this to you.
Part of reading fluently means that we are reading with automaticity and accuracy. When we read with automaticity, we recognize words immediately without having to decode and break apart every single sound. This is something that we practice over time. It won't come right away, but it's something that we learn as we learn how to decode and encode words. After you are able to do words, those eventually build into sentences that build in meaning and expression as well. We're going to be practicing some of those today with some word lists and some sentences together.
Now, Miss Maggie, I've noticed that a lot of these words, especially for our rising second graders, and maybe even our second graders going into third grade, if they're watching today, they may be looking at these words and said, you know, I've learned those words with automaticity. What could we be doing at home to maybe be reading some more advanced words?
Absolutely. We can be looking at other different types of word lists. We could even use the books that we're reading at home to find words to practice with automaticity as well.
Perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to read these words with automaticity. As we point, we're not going to tap, we're just going to read. And we'll go across just as we would read from left to right in a book. Why don't I point
Perfect.
and you read?
I can do that. And I know you can too.
Are you ready?
I think so.
Let's go.
Pat, cat, rat, pet, pot, dog, duck, rock, thick, black, frog, chimp.
Did you see that tricky one that I stuck in there with that blended ending sound? Boys and girls, how did you do with that word list? If you need to practice, go right ahead. We'll leave this up here for just a moment while we take a look at our popcorn words.
That's right. We have some high frequency words that we've been practicing this week.
Let's read those.
Have and the.
Wow, great job. Now, I'm going to try to trick you.
Okay.
You saw me direct just to read across. Now I'm just going to point.
Oh, I really have to pay attention to this part.
Okay, are you ready?
I think
And
so.
I could be pointing anywhere, including at popcorn words.
I can do it.
Let's do it.
Dog and pet, pot, chimp, the.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
How did you do? I think we're ready to move on.
I think
Let's
so.
turn the slide and let's take a look at some sentences to practice reading sentences with fluency. Now, when we read sentences with fluency, sometimes it helps if we put groups of words together. We call that scooping, so that we know that we can break up the sentence into smaller chunks. For example, let's read this first sentence together. I have a pet rock. Did I read that with fluency?
I don't think so. You did read every word accurately, but it sounded a little choppy. Maybe we need to scoop some of those words together.
What if we scoop the I and the have, put them together, and then we scoop the last three words, a pet rock. And now let's try reading it with the scooping. I have a pet rock.
That sounded so much better, almost like you were talking.
Let's try one more time with fluency. I have a pet rock. Did you also notice that my voice didn't rise up at the end because I was making a statement? Now, let's go through and scoop and read as we go.
Perfect.
I'm looking for how we can scoop. Do you have any suggestions on how we can put these words together?
I suggest that we do, I cannot pat the pet rock.
Let's do that. I cannot pat the pet rock.
Perfect. I cannot pat the pet rock.
And now let's read it together with fluency.
I cannot pat the pet rock.
Great. Oh, I noticed something about this next one. It's ending with a question mark.
What does that mean for our voice, Miss Mary?
Well, it means that our voice is going to rise up because we're asking a question. Can you go through and scoop this for me to help me to decide how to read it?
I think so. Oh, I think, is it okay if I cross out a word to
I
make the
see a
sentence?
mistake. Yes, please fix my mistake.
I'm just going to put a little X right here
I'm
so that
glad
way
you spotted that.
we don't read that word. So I'm going to scoop, can I pat a dog and a cat?
Let's read it.
Can I pat a dog and a cat? Perfect.
And one more.
Let's see. I can pat the dog and the cat. Oh, I don't think I read that right. I need to be more excited.
Oh, because our voice needs to show excitement with the exclamation mark.
That's right. Can I try that one more time?
Please do.
I can pat the dog and the cat.
That was great. And Miss Maggie, that ends our fluency lesson for today.
Perfect.
And we're just about ready to end today's lesson. Now, I also need to make sure that I disinfect the hand pointer that I was using because I know
Yes.
that other people are going to be using this. And right now we
Exactly.
have to be really careful to keep our germs to ourselves.
Absolutely. We did so much wonderful work today. Today, we got to share with you our wonderful pets from our homes. We practiced reading a book about pugs, nonfiction, aloud so we could gather information and set a purpose for reading. We also practiced blending syllable word parts together so that way we could learn how to read those words. We also broke apart sounds and their letters and read them aloud individually and then encoded them to spell new words. And then lastly, we practiced reading words and sentences with automaticity and with fluency and expression. We did so much work today. Miss Mary, what are some more things that we could do at home?
Well, to practice using our nonfiction text features that we discussed, I might encourage our students to try to find some nonfiction books that they might have at home. Now, there's a good chance that you have some nonfiction books in your kitchen. What type might they find in their kitchen?
They might find a cookbook or a recipe book.
And so you could see if your cookbook or recipe book has some of the things that this book has, like a table of contents and a glossary. Now, there's one more thing that I'd like for you to think about as we close for today. A couple of days ago, on Monday, we asked you to make a list of pets that you might be interested in finding out more about. And then we asked you to circle the names of one of those pets. Now, there's one more thing that I'd like for you to do. Write some questions that you'd like to have answered about that pet. That relates to figuring out whether or not a pet would be a good fit for our home.
Perfect. We have one more episode for this week for you tomorrow on Thursday. And we are going to be so excited to close up our pets unit with you tomorrow. Remember to bring back your opinion writing that you started with us yesterday on Tuesday. We are super excited for that day, and thank you for joining us today for At Home with APS. This has been Miss Maggie
And Miss Mary.
We'll see you tomorrow.